Howl's Moving Castle, a beautifully animated tale following a hat shop owner, Sophie, and how she gets wrapped up in the chaotic but magical world of witches and wizards. From the very beginning, we understand what kind of character Sophie is by how the people around her react and judge her. She places herself as unimportant. Her heart is closed to herself, but is open for others so that they can enjoy their lives while she takes care of everything else. But she is not the only one who worries about the heart. As the story unfolds, the more we realise that Sophie has a lot more in common with the fantastical world of witches and wizards than we first realised. But having something in common, is that enough? What can we realise about this story? Let's find out. This is 2 takes, and this is 1 shot, an analysis of the masterpiece that is Howl's Moving Castle. Spoilers are throughout. Learning more about how the wants and needs between the head and the heart is a worrying factor in all of us, and we're always inclined to imagine that we're the only ones with these kinds of worries. But this isn't the case. Sure, we realise very early on that Sophie is realistic, level-headed, and doesn't think much of herself, hiding in her hat shop, working away behind the scenes. Unlike the hats she beautifully makes, they are simply an accessory to the main attraction, and Sophie reflects that, almost like a wallflower in her own life. Sophie learns pretty early on that it's not just her that has problems with the heart. When the Witch of the Waste changes her into an old lady, it's almost like a reflection of her soul coming out. Sophie, with her wise old soul, has now the outside reflecting on the inside. And this change in her outward appearance has her monologuing out loud about her thoughts and feelings, which was not the case before the curse, and has her getting out of her comfort zone on a journey to lift the curse. Elements of a new kind of Sophie emerge. She gets angry, resilient, resourceful, and cunning. Sophie, with all of the new people around her, finds herself through them. And this helps her become this whole other person. The curse seems to change her outward appearance in moments of excitement, wonder, and peace, even if it is temporary. It is that key to have a life worth living. Finding those moments that can bring contentment and happiness, even in the small things such as watching the scenery or looking at the ocean for the first time. What's even more interesting is that when Sophie sleeps, the spell makes her become her young self again. A theory is that once one sleeps, there is no boundaries or limitations on one's own self. We are relaxed, no one is watching us, and all of our guards are down. We are our true selves, succumb to REM and dreams that shape in our own image. The mind wanders, not concentrating about what is happening around us. Therefore, the curse, in these moments, is not relevant. Howl, on the other hand, can be seen to be her exact opposite. Howl is more of a dreamer, with his head and quite literally his heart in the clouds. He lives in the moving castle that is governed by a demon that has his heart. He roams around the wastes, using aliases to keep his freedom from his own sworn oath of going to the kin when summoned. It's almost like home is literally where the heart is, and that could be anywhere. While Sophie is stuck on the ground, he is flying in the skies, and in this story, they meet in the middle and rise each other up. It is interesting when we are first introduced to Howl, in conversations around and with Sophie in the town, a rumour, gossip, whatever you want to call it, has placed itself as fact in the eyes of the town, that Howl eats the hearts of beautiful girls. What is even more fascinating is the fact that we eventually learn that it's actually the Witch of the Wastes that is on the quest of hearts. However, this persona of a person who eats the hearts of beautiful girls could be a metaphor for Howl quite literally pursuing and breaking girls' hearts left, right and centre. It's almost hilarious to even imagine, but in this theory, Howl is quite literally a player. And overall, this whole story, including Sophie's version, could quite literally be about this player settling down once and for all. But like I said earlier, I think it's more than that. The journey of finding oneself through the help and encouragement of others is more fitting than the usual romance. And for Howl, it was almost about him growing up and learning how to rectify his mistakes and own up to things he runs away from. Howl recalled that he once pursued the Witch of the Waste because she was quite beautiful, and we see now how that was a turning point of learning that not everything beautiful is going to be lovely inside and out. Looks fade in time, and so did this courtship between Howl and the Witch of the Waste. This shows us two things: that Howl, almost like a teenager, remember, he does have the heart of a child, is pursuing what young people supposedly look for in a partner. It is only through these trials and errors that eventually we learn it's about the person as a whole, and beauty is an addition. The second point is that the Witch of the Waste, on how she is animated in the film, is quite the interesting character in how she looks. As soon as she is forced to walk those stairs without magic, it becomes apparent that her looks are deceiving, and then when she is stripped of them, becoming her original age, with a backstory of how her heart was consumed by a demon of greed, we can understand about her unwavering want of Howl's heart. She loves to chase, and so she tries to maintain a mirage of beauty to get what she wants. Her black blob men are apparently only seen by Howl and Sophie, but that is only because they have ever so slightly gotten to know her. The blob men are a reflection of how beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and both Sophie and Howl did not find any beauty on her, whether that's inside or out, and so the blob men are a metaphor for her soul. Thinking about how the Witch of the Waste was consumed by a demon of greed, and how Howl's heart is held by another demon, some have perceived it as a demon of selfishness. This could be an extra addition to presenting their sins, or better yet, a representation of something negative, such as depression, consuming one's heart and soul. A demon could be a metaphor for negative thoughts and ways of living as an external living and breathing thing. I find this fitting, as in our reality, things such as depression and greed are sometimes things we cannot control, almost as if they have a life of their own. Within a world of magic and demons, of people figuring out their own way and meeting interesting people, it all boils down to finding peace within the heart and head and what one does with it. The connection that Howl and Sophie feel is what drives them forward into eventually loving each other. They love each other through the differences, almost like opposites attract, with the people around them shaping and forming this connection into what we, the audience, make it out to be. It's slow, eventual, and with many hidden meanings. One of those hidden aspects could relate to the time travelling that happens for Sophie in this film and for Howl back in the past. The sudden realisation for Sophie of how to help Howl has Howl essentially searching for her for years. The Witch of the Waste placing the curse on Sophie was a mishap on the witch's part based on her jealousy of Howl searching for something else. But it was meant to happen. Without Howl finding Sophie to walk her to the bakery, the Witch of the Waste would not have found this out, and become driven to sabotage Sophie, baiting her into sending a message to Howl which scorched the kitchen table. This in turn led Sophie to Calcifer, and a bargain was born. Everything was meant to happen. It is almost as if this story is a tale about searching for that one person that can help mend and make a new heart and mind. Not specifically about finding your true love, but rather someone who can help with that journey. In Howl's moving castle, it just happens that they do fall in love. This, in turn, helps Sophie realise that her looks are not important, that she is perceived as beautiful even if she doesn't believe it. Howl stops carrying behind his aliases and understands that beauty is the eye of the beholder. Her heart, once cold, becomes warmed by those around her, and because of her unwavering loyalty and love for Howl, Howl's was too warm, quite literally on fire, until Sophie's help. That flame is extinguished and returned to its rightful place, with all of the burdens and worries, opening up his soul to loving properly. There needs to be a middle ground, and by the end of the film, it seems that has been made a reality, and so, it seems opposites attract and cancel each other out when they help each other. And in the end, they both found the right kind of freedom they were searching for, exploring everything together with open hearts and open minds. If you enjoyed what was said, please follow me on Anchor, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms for the latest episode, and be kept in the loop through my Instagram, at 2takes_podcast. If you want to help me in the making of each episode, there is a listener support platform that can benefit the levelling up of this podcast, as well as have you, the supporter, having access to extra content. Find this at anchor.fm/2takespodcast/support. And as always, thanks for listening.